Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Joe Knows the 2021 NFL Draft Class, where today we are going to be covering your team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is the part of the episode where I usually make some sort of emotional connection with the team, because I'm a Giants fan, but I have respect for all the teams out there that constitute our NFL that I love so much. And I can't really say that I have an emotional connection with the Kansas City Chiefs. Certainly nothing against them either. Over two different conferences, two different divisions, which is great. Makes it easy to root for another team. But I never really had that type of connection there with the Chiefs. But they were a team that for a long time were one of those teams for the past few decades before the Mahomes era. They were a team that was, would kind of like be in the thick of things. They had some good star players, some good outstanding talent, but never enough talent to make it to get to the next level, and that is AFC Championship game and a Super Bowl and the Super Bowl. But that's until recently, and man, have you guys just turned such a corner, and it's really cool to see. I love seeing. Hey, if my team, the Giants, aren't winning games, aren't winning Super Bowls, I'm glad to see there's a team in the heartland in the Midwest that's doing it. Kansas City, you're a fan, you have a great fan base that's really loyal to that team. I'm glad to see you guys are having all the success. The Andy Reid and Mahomes combination is an absolute winner. It's a killer against the rest of the league. You've been to two AFC Championship games in a row. Unfortunately, you didn't win the last Super Bowl, or fortunately for the Bucs fans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, you didn't win. But you didn't win the last one. But you went to two Super Bowls in a row. You won 2 years ago. You guys are absolutely looking phenomenal. Your team is stacked. You have a front office that knows what it's doing. You have a head coach who's, I think, he's definitely inarguably one of the greatest of his generation. He knows talent, especially offensive talent. He knows how to develop quarterbacks. And I do want to give a shout out to Andy Reid, because I like the guy a lot. He used to coach the Eagles, who are pretty much one of the main rivals of my team, the Giants. And the guy he had his Eagles competitive. They won 4 divisional titles in a row, went to the Super Bowl. He's a good guy. And I'm glad to see he got that ring finally. But shout out to him in the Chiefs front office. I normally try to keep it to just the draft material, just talking about the players that were drafted. But a few times I just feel like it's important to give a certain shout out. Shout out to Andy Reid in the front office a few years ago when they traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. So I remember when they did that, and I give teams a lot of leeway when they're gunning for a quarterback of the future for their team. I give them a lot of leeway and what they're thinking, what they're doing, and the moves they make. And I remember Reid in the front office, kind of got nailed by quite a few experts at that time who were saying, "Oh, you've got Alex Smith and you have a good offense. You should be focusing on defense." Well, they traded up. They got themselves a quarterback in Mahomes, I think at the number 10 pick overall, if I recall correctly, who pretty much there are plenty of organizations out there right now that would trade an entire draft class and maybe their entire roster for Patrick Mahomes alone. He is awesome. And as good as Trevor Lawrence is coming out of college, he's been described as, and I think rightfully so, as the best quarterback to come out of college since Andrew Luck, and before that since Peyton Manning, and before that since John Elway. That's great. I'll tell you, I believe in Trevor Lawrence, but I'll tell you, if he can be even close to being as good as Patrick Mahomes, then he will live up to that billing, because Patrick Mahomes right now is looking like the best quarterback in his generation. Phenomenal. To be a Chiefs fan right now, it's just got to be an awesome feeling, knowing that you've got Mahomes, who's not just a great player, but a great character, leading your organization for like the next 12 years at least. It's just phenomenal. I can't say enough about it. My emotional connection. I want to give a shout out all the Chiefs fans in general, but specifically Chris. Now, I'm not going to use last names because I want to keep anonymity, but I grew up in northeastern New Jersey, which is where I still live today. That's our headquarters here for Toilets to Titles in New Jersey. It's our New Jersey headquarters. Anyway, this is where I grew up. This is where I've lived my entire life. So growing up here, we're all Giants fans, Jets fans, quite a few Cowboys fans too. And you had your Raiders fans, Steelers fans, and fans of some other teams. But there was one guy. It wasn't too often you saw Chiefs fans around here. Just weren't around, But there was one guy named Chris, who I was growing up with in my grade. I remember in 8th grade specifically, showed up to school with his really nice Kansas City Chiefs jersey. And he rocked that thing all the time. I give him all the credit in the world. And I just went up to him one day and I asked him, Chris, I wasn't breaking his chops. I even explained that too. I said, hey, I'm not making fun or anything. I'm just curious because we live in northern New Jersey. Are you really a Chiefs fan, or do you just like the jersey, the colors? And he said, no, Joe, I'm really a Chiefs fan. So that was really cool. It always stuck in my mind. And so this episode is dedicated to you, Chris, as well as all the other great Chiefs fans out there. Just want you to know I didn't forget you. And you know what? He friended me recently on Facebook. I appreciated that. Chris is also the best swimmer I'd ever been associated with in my life. When I was a kid, I swam competitively as a kid for like 10 years. I was pretty good. I held my own. I won more matches than I lost and got my share of medals and trophies and stuff. But I'll tell you, when Chris ever showed up for a meet, we'd ask, is Chris going to show? Is Chris going to show? Because he was swimming for another elite team year round. And if we got him on our summer team, and when he was showing up, if we knew he was showing up, we knew we had like 3 or 4 easy wins with Chris, and it helped us propel us to like 10 championships in a row. I think eventually 15, but the dude was awesome, the best swimmer I've ever been around. So I want to give a special kudos. This video is to you, and again, all the other Chiefs fans out there. But I've already spoken too much on this stuff and not the content. Let's get to the content. Before we do that, real quick, the bells and whistles, where you can follow Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Facebook, where we have 2 pages, Toilets to Titles and When a Family Breaks, which is a sports memorabilia page. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. We do a lot of cool stuff over there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Please help us out. Metrics help us out. And we just want to hear back from you, the fans, and we love the positive feedback, even the negative feedback. That's okay. We just love feedback. But hit that like and subscribe button. And if you can, do us a solid. Go over to Apple. Give us a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot too. And patreon.com, if you go there to patreon.com/toilets to titles, you can find out how to further support our great channel. So moving on to the juicy content here. Kansas City had 6 picks total. You had 2 second-rounders, 2 fifth-rounders, and I put a little too much detail in here. You didn't have a first-rounder. You didn't have a third-rounder. You didn't have a 7th-rounder, but we all know you had an honorary first-rounder, and that was Orlando Brown, who you traded for. I assume this first-round pick went to Baltimore for Orlando Brown. You got your left tackle or right tackle, whatever you're going to do with him. I assume he's left tackle. You got that guy for the future, for the next 10 to 12 years. Congratulations. I don't even remember what the parameters of the deal were. I just remember not being blown away by it. So I think it was a first rounder. I don't know, maybe your 5th rounder as well this year, and maybe a pick next year. I'm not sure, but you got protection from Mahomes, the best quarterback in the game, and that is your honorary first rounder. So you got basically your first round pick in honorary stature. You got a guy who's coming on who knows how to play left tackle, who's a stud at left tackle, and that's your first round pick basically. Incredible. That's awesome. And we're going to move on. But with the rest of your picks, I think you maximize the heck out of your 2 second rounders. I love them. And the theme that I saw with this was potential steals all over the place. I like the talent that you guys got. You know, when you're picking in the back end of each round because you're, you know, like the best or the second best team in the league, it's not easy to, you know, to get those players that can really help you out a lot. But this was a deep class, and I thought you maximized what you got. Okay, moving on. Your first pick in the 2nd round, it was on the 26th pick in the 2nd round. You got Nick Bolton, linebacker, Missouri. I love this guy. Anyone who knew anything about college football liked this guy. I don't think it was anyone who didn't like Nick Bolton. We all love Nick. We all love Nick Bolton. One of the best interior linebackers in this draft. Top notch. This is a guy who's going to be, assuming he makes it to his 2nd contract in terms of no injuries, he's going to be your middle linebacker, probably the captain of your defense eventually for like 12 years. This guy's awesome. He does it all. He is a linebacker who can play the pass very well. That's not easy to find. The linebackers a lot of times are run stuffers, and you have to hope that they develop into being guys who can be three down linebackers where they can play the pass as well. Not this guy. You don't have to worry about it. This guy does it all. He already plays the pass well, and he plays the run very well too. He's rugged. He's hard-nosed. The only thing I'd be a little worried about is that he's a little on the small side. Not that he's small, but he's a little on the small side, and he plays so hard-nosed that a lot of times that could lead to injuries and missing games. Obviously, that stinks. So, but we're not there yet. This guy is awesome. I would I'm a Giants fan. If the Giants had drafted him in the second round, I would have been psyched because I love Nick Bolton. Congratulations, Chiefs. You got the future leader of your defense there. Moving on to the second pick in the second round, the 31st pick overall in that round, Creed Humphrey, center. You got probably the best center in the draft. Congratulations. Mahomes is loving you guys. You're going to keep him healthy. You got Orlando Brown to protect his blind side. And you got Creed Humphrey, who's probably going to step right in, I assume, and be your starting center. Now, this guy he's not flashy. He's not great. He may never be a Pro Bowler, but I don't care about that. Not everyone's going to be a Pro Bowler, even if you're drafting him in the second round, even if you're drafting him in the first round. You got a solid guy who does it all. He's not fancy, but he's solid in everything. He can pass protect and he can run block. He's not rugged. He's not going to steamroll people, but he's effective at run blocking, and he's effective at pass protection. And this guy, apparently, from everything I've read, he was a team captain, and he's going to be probably the leader of that offensive line. And he's the center. He's calling he's calling out plays anyway for the line, calling out protections, that is. This guy's got, he's probably the future leader of your offensive line. You got him in the second round. Awesome. These second round picks, man. You got Orlando Brown with the first round pick that he gave up. Then you got Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey. I love it. Incredible. Incredible. You guys are already so good. You shouldn't be doing this good, but yet you're doing it. Incredible. Incredible. Moving on to the fourth round. So you didn't have a third round pick, but with the 39th pick in the fourth round, you got Joshua Kando, defensive end out of Florida State. This guy is big. Now, I was a little familiar with Kando because I was reading up for months leading up to the draft, and I was focusing as a Giants fan. We need help on the edge. We need pass rushing help, and I was looking for steals later on in the draft. And I read up quite a bit on Kando, so I'm somewhat familiar with him. I'm not going to say that I watched a lot of game tape or YouTube videos on him. I watched one or two, but from what I read, I found him to be intriguing. I didn't think he'd go in the fourth round. I don't worry about that stuff. That's not a criticism. I thought he would go later, maybe the fifth, more likely the sixth or seventh. I don't care about that. So if the team believes in someone, especially a front office that's as competent as Kansas City, it makes me think, okay, what did I miss? And Joshua Kando, you got a big dude. He's 6'6", 260 pounds. The weight isn't necessarily ginormous, but his height is. And this guy's got massive length. And so it's funny, he looks bigger. When you watch him on film, I think to me, he looks bigger than 260 pounds. He's a big dude. And I think he's got some lots and lots of traits to work with. But if you have a good coaching staff, they can coach him up. Another thing, too, is that he wasn't all that productive at Florida State, but I don't think Florida State's all that great. Don't get me wrong, they produce some real stud NFL players, Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers. But I don't think they're like a great defensive program down there, but they always do produce some studs. I think Joshua Kando can be a guy that, goes to the right organization, the right coaching staff can be really coached up into something. So I think you got a potential future stud, or at least a potential future starter. He might not be a Pro Bowler, might not be a stud down the road. He probably won't, but you might have gotten a future starter who's pretty good. You can roll out there and not have to worry about someone you can improve upon down the road with another draft, but someone who can, I think, bring you some good snaps and maybe at worst some good depth. So I thought you had good value there. Moving on to the fifth round. So you did have a fifth round pick. I apologize. 18th pick overall in the fifth round. You took tight end Noah Gray. Noah Gray is interesting. I heard his name more and more leading up to the draft. Just interviews I heard when they were talking about experts down at the combine and the scouting directors down there, not the combine, the Senior Bowl. And the scouting, the guy who heads it, I forgot his name off the top of my head. Really nice guy, does a great job at the Senior Bowl. And these, to a man, when asked, okay, for tight ends, guys in the later round, when we get past the big 3 or 4 names in the tight end position, is there someone in the later rounds that you can recommend? And they all mention Noah Gray consistently. Now, this is a guy, he's 6'3", 240 pounds, decent size for a tight end, and he was team captain at Duke. Now, Duke, obviously, is not a massive football program, but this guy is. I do have a place in my heart because Daniel Jones is my man, and I'm a defender of his. I'm not saying he's going to be, a franchise quarterback yet. This is his prove-it year. Unfortunately, we're going to see if he does it or not. I believe in him, but most of all, I defend him, and I love Daniel Jones. And someone comes out of a school like Duke, Ivy League, not known for their football program. I think that's pretty cool. And Noah Gray was better known as have down here in the Blue Notes, better known for pass blocking. But I think this is a guy who's actually, from everything I've read, this guy actually can make contested catches. He's got good hands. He's got good body control. And so I think Andy Reid's got bigger plans for him than just having him be like a run blocker. Obviously, you've got Kelsey. He's not going anywhere. He's the best tight end of the game, or at least one of the top 2 or 3, if not the best. So Noah Gray is not displacing Kelsey. I'm not saying that. But maybe he'll wind up developing into, and I think it's realistic to think that he could wind up being developing into a solid number 2 tight end that Andy Reid could deploy out there, 2 tight end formations. That would be interesting, be yet another element of their offense, like they don't have enough already, huh? But Noah Gray, I think that's an interesting pick. And myself, I love the tight end position and the versatility that it requires, especially for a good all-around tight end. And usually tight ends come out, they're either pass blockers, run blockers, or they're either blockers or they're receivers. It's hard to find ones that can do both effectively. This guy comes out already as known to be a pretty good blocker. So, he might not have been getting a fair chance down at Duke because they're going up against some serious SEC competition. And a lot of times coaches just will use players in the NCAA to what best fits their needs. So if they need max pass protection for the quarterback, they're going to hold their tight end or 2 tight ends back to act as like an extra offensive lineman instead of having them go out to catch. So maybe that's why Noah Gray, I think it's a strong possibility why Noah Gray didn't have bigger offensive numbers down at Duke. But I think from what I've read that the potential's there for this guy. So I like that in the 5th round. Moving on, Cornell Powell, another interesting case. This guy, 6'4", 204 pounds. Intangibles you can't teach. You either got it or you don't. Cornell Powell, he was probably like the number 4 wide receiver at Clemson. And that program, like Alabama and Ohio State, are so deep in talent that it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. You have to be exceptional to really stand out at these programs. And he never really got that shot. But you got a guy here I think's got good potential. This guy is first of all, he's a kick returner, so he can definitely help you in special teams. And then, but he's got good hands. He makes contested catches. In the 5th round, this is your 2nd pick in the 5th round, 37th pick overall. You got a guy who's big, who can go out. If your quarterback is about to get smashed, he can't wait for people to get wide open. He needs to be able to throw the ball if the guy's covered, whatever. Get the ball close to him and give your wide receiver a shot. Cornell Powell can give that to you. So just throw the ball up and let him battle out with the cornerback or the safety for that ball. Cornell Powell is good at that at contested catches. He's effective at using his height and his size at getting those balls, and he can jump for it too. So he's effective. So is he going to be a number 1 wide receiver? I certainly don't ever think that, but I think maybe his ceiling could wind up being, down the road like a quality number 2 wide receiver. It's possible. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all. But you know what? Maybe at worst he's like a number 3 or number 4 wide receiver. But if you have a deep wide receiving core, having a solid number 4 is not a joke either. It's valuable. Wide receivers get injured just like anyone else. If you have a guy who can come in and start for a bunch of games and not really lose too much of a beat because you lost your number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, that's a good thing. Losing Tyreek Hill for an extended period of time, that's something different because that guy's elite. I'm not talking about Tyreek, but your number 2 or 3 receiver go down. Cornell Powell could possibly be someone down the road when developed, could come in and be a good relief for those guys for a good period of time. And then your last pick, Trey Smith. I love this pick. This could be one of the steals of the draft. This guy was an excellent guard at Tennessee for a few years, and he was a projected 3rd or 4th round pick. And this is a deep offensive line draft, one of the deepest I can ever remember of my lifetime, at least for past 10 years when I really started following the draft. And he lasted this long. He fell to the 6th round because of concerns over blood clots in his lungs that he had in college. He might have had them in high school too. I'm not sure. I think it might have been in high school, and then there were concerns in college that they had returned, but it wound up being scar tissue, something like that. There were concerns. And myself, my team, the Giants, they needed offensive line help. A bunch of us were like, why is Trey Smith still dropping? Why has he not been taken in the 3rd round or the 4th round? And we were hoping that the Giants were going to eventually take him 4th, 5th round, 6th round, whatever. And the reason why they may not have taken him was that the Giants actually hired Tennessee's most recent head coach who was fired. They hired him as a like a backup coordinator or offensive line coach or whatever. And so the thinking is that he knew Trey Smith more than anyone else, and he knew maybe the real potential for this guy's having bad health or issues with blood clots in the lungs down the road. Like he knew the full medical history of Trey Smith. That's the thinking there. But you know what? Sixth round, I would have taken him. I don't care. I would roll the dice on that one because this guy was he was winning awards on and off the field. He's a high content character and he's a quality player. Sixth round, I would have taken this guy in the fifth round, probably even just take him in the fourth round as well. I don't care. I love this guy. You guys got to steal again, yet another pick for your offensive line. I guess the theme for this draft actually could have maybe been offensive line because you traded the first round for Orlando Brown, and that guy is a step on the field, ready to go. Pro Bowl caliber left tackle right now. And then you got Creed Humphrey, center in the second round. And you got Trey Smith, guard. At the very worst, Trey Smith is going to be a valuable backup. But I think he's going to be better than that. I think if not this year, maybe next year or the year after that, he will be your starting guard. I really believe that. I believe he's going to be a starting guard for your team for a long time to come. But if that doesn't work out, then I think at worst, he's going to be darn good depth. What a home run draft you guys got. And you shouldn't even be doing this well because you're drafting it really in the back end of each round. And here you are hitting these home runs. Anyway, that's it for the KC Chiefs. Before we go, please don't forget Twitter handles for me and my colleagues down here. Follow all these guys, all of us here who make up Toilets to Titles. And we love doing this channel, this network for you guys. We're pumping out more and more material, both on the NFL side and Dynasty Draft. And we do a lot. We're going to do even more with the NFL season coming up. We've got more and more plans. And we're bringing more and more bodies on to put out more quality content for you guys. Follow everyone. They deserve it. They're all a great cast of characters. And the last but not least, please, just a reminder, please hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and give us that 5-star Apple review because we deserve it. For a shot at a free entry to our Frankenstein League, which is a Dynasty Fantasy League that we've created for you, the viewers, and you, the listeners, to play with us. And so we're going to play with you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I've never done Dynasty. I've always done traditional, standard fantasy leagues myself. It's my first time that I'm doing Dynasty with Frankenstein. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got some funky rules, some crazy rules. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it, and I know you will too. Anyway, I had a great time covering the KC Chiefs. You guys, you're awesome. I love your team. I love Mahomes. I love Andy Reid, and I love the red and yellow. Keep winning. Just don't beat my Giants when you do eventually play them again. Love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Take care, all.